What do these two books have in common with this one? I'll tell you what, they're all masterpieces. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and today guys, we are doing a book review. But before we get to that, please do me a favor. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow. And you can check the description box down below for links to all my social media, including information about my Patreon and the link to the Discord if you want to chat or support the channel. And with that right out of the way, let's jump right on into the review of A Lord of a Shattered Lands by Howard Andrew Jones. And yes, in the intro, I did say, what do Empire of Silence, The Will of the Many, and Lord of a Shattered Land all have in common? They're all revolutionary in their field. I felt like Will of the Many kind of revitalized the school setting with a Roman setting. Actually, these all kind of have Roman themes to them. Anyway, this is a modern classic of sci-fi that's going to define a generation. And frankly, I think this is a modern classic that is going to define the generation of sword and sorcery, or reinvigorate the genre of sword and sorcery. This was sent to me last year or 2 years ago as an ARC by the author, and I'm just now getting to it. In fact, at the time of recording, I haven't had time to sit with my thoughts. I've just been so excited. I finished this book 30 minutes ago. So a lot like Matt, I just finished this book, and you're getting my just immediate reaction to this book. I think this is a just slept on banger in the book community. And what I mean by slept on is, like, on Goodreads, I think it had like 50 or 60 reviews and then 150 ratings. That's it. That is astonishing to me for how good this is. I had seen Leslie, the Nerdy Narrative, kind of check this one out and review it, and I recently talked to her and she loved it. And then, of course, Nico from Nico's Book Reviews has been harping on me for over a year since he read this. He was like, dude, it's so good. You're going to love it. Please do yourself a favor and check it out. And I was just kind of joking with him. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. It's amazing. I can't believe how good this is. Anyway, the series is called The Chronicles of Hanevar, which is kind of important because this is a chronicle. This is a interesting way that I've seen a chronicle done, because usually it's just like a first-hand chronicle. However, Hanevar's chronicle is being kind of zhuzhed up by the great grandnephew of one of the characters in the book. And then there's annotations from other people who have since then done the chronicles. So they're trying to zhuzh this up for a new kind of generation. Much like I think this is a reinvigoration of sword and sorcery, the chronicler is trying to reinvigorate it for a new generation as well. So it's kind of like a double meaning. I love that. Anyway, basically, who is Hanevar? Hanevar is the general of a city by Volanus. And when we first meet Hanevar, he's in his 50s, he's an older gentleman, and his city has just fallen, and he is basically on a mission, not of revenge, but just to try and salvage whatever he could. One of my favorite lines from this story is not about me. This is Hanevar going, this story is not about me. It's about my people. Without them, I am nothing. And that is really the core of who Hanevar is, because, man, like, he is a man of honor. He's a man of brutality. He's a wise general. He was great at strategy. He's this legendary general that this opposing nation of Derva is still scared of. This is a general without an army, and throughout the entirety of this book, the mere mention that he might be alive is enough to have the emperor scrambling to try and protect himself. That is how revered of an enemy general Hanevar is to the Dervans, who wiped out his city. They wiped out his city and thought him dead, and they see him as this kind of avenging ghost, because they're like, oh, he's coming for us because of what we did. But he doesn't, like, he mourns his people. But Hanevar is really just trying to save a remnant of a remnant. And in that we get these chronicles. This book is essentially set up of like 14 or 15 short stories in a linear fashion. So basically it's chronicling Hannivar on his journey where he meets this companion of Antares, who's this playwright and actor who's helping Hannivar kind of learn some play skills to blend in enemy territory, because the people that Hannivar is trying to save from his homeland were enslaved by their enemies. They were carted off. His daughter was taken. He doesn't know if his daughter's alive. He's also trying to inter the ashes of his brother. We get so many great adventures within this book. We also get a lot of cosmic horror. We get a lot of, I don't want to say it's like H.P. Lovecraft horror, but like there are gods, there is magic, there are seers, and a lot of the Dervins, or the Dervin people, are trying to harness these powers. And it's just this very corrupt land with these politicking generals, and they're greedy and they're jealous and everything like that. And so they kind of tap into some powers that they probably shouldn't have. And when they keep doing this, Hannivar just happens to tend to be nearby. And a lot of the deeds that happen are being attributed to Hannivar by the people in charge. And they're like, oh God, like he's this demon, he's this risen ghost, he's got these dark powers, he's on this crusade of revenge. Not really at all. It's fantastic. It's so incredibly good. And the relationship that we get between Antares and Hannivar is so incredibly special, because they develop this respect, they just develop this rapport, this friendship. And it's just so incredibly good to see this playwright kind of find out he's befriended this legendary figure from the enemy side. And he's like, you know what? Like, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And Terrace plans to, like, craft plays on the life of Hannivar, his chronicles, which is kind of where the story comes from, because Antares wrote it down, and then his generations are kind of going through and they're annotating it, or his descendants, not his generations. His descendants are annotating the story. They're trying to zhuzh it up and make it and repackage it for a modern audience, much like Sword and Sorcery is being repackaged for a modern audience. Oh my gosh, this is an instant classic in my opinion. The writing is crisp and clean. There is not a lot of gratuitous sex or nudity or anything like that. This is accessible to both men and women because it's very respectful of women warriors. Like Hannivar's like, we had women warriors. We respected the women in our society. This is very much based on kind of like a Roman-esque culture. A lot like, again, these two books. Oop, don't drop those. Anyway, sorry, I almost had a heart attack. I almost dropped my Empire of Silence. But there's just so much respect to other people, to other genders. And, I mean, Hannivar is just, to describe Hannivar is so incredibly interesting because he's wise, he's patient, he's gentle, he's brutal, he's very honorable, he's incredibly clever, he's incredibly strong, savvy, he's fast. And it's interesting because earlier on in the book, because he's an older protagonist, Hannivar has to stretch. He's just like, I used to stretch when on campaign when I was younger. Now I have to stretch if I'm going to even be slightly dangerous in battle. Like, I mean, he's always just stretching whenever he's at camp to kind of keep his body in peak condition because he has to. And it's just, I don't know. I have so much love for Lord of a Shattered Land by Howard Andrew Jones. I am mad at myself for waiting so long to read this because, frankly, it is so incredibly good. Like, this is in contention for my book of the year. Hands down, not a thought in my mind. It's already into the top 10 because, I mean, frankly, we're halfway through the year, and unless the rest of the year is just straight bangers, this has to be in the conversation. I am so impressed with how clean and crisp the prose was and how well the story flowed. Like, each chapter was like anywhere from 30 to 50 pages. I mean, this isn't a particularly long book. It's 502 pages with the sample of book 2 included in that number. So it's a very readable, short book. It flows incredibly well. I just felt so much respect for Hanavar as a character, because even though he feels like a paragon of society, he's still very human. He gets mad, he makes mistakes, he can be tricked, he can be injured, he does need to rely on his friends. It's just so incredibly cool. And then when you throw in the twist of like slight cosmic horrors and deities and murder houses and seers and hunting parties and stuff like that and battle, all of that put together is just so incredibly special. Howard Andrew Jones captured lightning in a bottle with this release, and I'm hoping that when I read The City of Marble and Blood, which is book number 2, that he does it again, because I think book 3 is going to drop sometime in October, and I just need more people to be talking about this book. I've seen some few people mention it, but this should be a household name on BookTube, because it is just that good. I know I sound like I'm just trying to hype this book up, and that may be a little bit of recency bias, but I had such a pleasant reading experience with this. I was captivated. I was pulled in. I did, the way I read it, because there isn't an audiobook, sadly, that I know of, I did a chapter a day until it was done. And I took my time with it, and I absolutely think that was worth it. I think this is something special. I would give this a 10 out of 10. Honestly, I've got no real complaints, no real critiques to the story. I like the way it's chronicled. There are annotations as if somebody has gone back and they've like made notes in the story with footnotes and stuff like that. It's just, I don't know, it's so incredibly well done. And I want to applaud Howard Andrew Jones for this amazing, amazing book release. I am going to be diving in to the City of Marble Blood within the next couple months so that I can be ready to go when the 3rd book drops, because this is probably going to be one of my new favorite series. Hands down. That's all I've really got for you today, guys. I feel like I have just battered you over the head with praise for this book. Please do yourself a favor. Check the description box down below. I will have a link to the Amazon page where you can buy this book in the description if you are interested, and I highly suggest that you do give it a try. But again, that's all I've really got for today, guys. Till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby. It means the world to me.